Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I stand to move that the Senate do resolve into the Committee of All to conduct the confirmation hearings. I so move, Mr. President.
The Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to second the motion that the Senate do resolve to Committee of the Whole to continue the confirmation hearing. I so second, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, a motion has been moved and seconded that this Senate do resolve into Committee of the Whole to conduct the nominations exercise. Those who are in support of the motion say aye. Those who are against the motion say nay. We now resolve into Committee of the Whole. Let me, on behalf of distinguished senators, welcome the proposed governor of Central Bank, the 4 deputies to this confirmation, screening, and hearing. It is not usual for the Senate to read the correspondence from Mr. President on the same day and take the nomination screening on the same day. But because of the exigency and the very crucial role that the Central Bank plays in the lives of all Nigerians, and particularly as a regulator of the Nigerian economy, we decided that with the information of the emergency resignation from office of the governor of Central Bank and the 4 deputies, we cannot allow a vacuum. So the Senate had to resume today to try to sort this out for the interest of all Nigerians and for the benefit of all Africans. So you are welcome. We'll start by taking the Central Bank proposed governor alone. So you will come in, you will introduce yourself, and let us know you. You will go a little bit into a summarized version of your resume, and thereafter you take questions from our distinguished senators. So I invite Cardoso to take the stage.
Okay. Mr. President, Your Excellency, the Senate President, distinguished Senator Goodwill Akpabio, Your Excellency, the Deputy President of the Senate, distinguished Senator Ibrahim Jibrin, distinguished leadership of these hallowed chambers, other distinguished senators here present, ladies and gentlemen. I am indeed humbled to be here before you, standing as the nominee for the position of Governor of the Central Bank. My sincere appreciation goes to the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The gravity of this moment is not in any way lost on me. I do not take lightly the confidence that has been reposed in me by the President through this nomination. I would also like to use this opportunity to recognize those representing Lagos State, Senator Tokes Abiru, Senate, and encouragement, as well as extend thanks to the government and people of Lagos State. Let me respectfully introduce myself. My name is Olayemi Cardoso. I was born 10th of July, 1957. I'm an indigene of Lagos State. I'm born to parents of Brazilian descent in Popo Aguda. I attended primary school at Corona School, Ikoyi, and I went on to do my secondary school at St. Gregory's College, Lagos. I then went on for further studies to Birmingham. I attended the University of Aston, where I graduated with a bachelor's degree in managerial and administrative studies, specializing in finance and accounting. My further education was at the Harvard Kennedy School, where I earned a master's degree in public administration, and I specialized in finance and economics. I also Aston University. Citibank, one of the world's largest financial institutions, recognized my potential and invited me to join their ranks. I attended the credit training program in Athens, Greece, after which I was transferred to locations, particularly Citibank branch in Ivory Coast, Abidjan. At that time, that was the West Africa regional office for Citibank. And of course, I focused on debt restructuring and other places where Citibank did not have a presence in West Africa, which was most places, including Nigeria. In 1981, I returned to my home country and I took up an appointment with Chase Merchant Bank, an affiliate of Chase Manhattan Bank, which I know you all know. And then in 1984, I joined Citibank when they in fact decided that they were going to set up an enterprise in Nigeria. And I was at the time one of the founding staff of Citibank in Nigeria, then Nigerian International Bank. During this period of time, if you look at my resume, you'll see I did various diversified experiences. Subsequent to that, in addition to other colleagues, co-founded Citizens International Bank, and I served there for 8 years as an executive director. In 1999, I was presented with a unique opportunity when Lagos State approached me as an illustration were not only drawn up, but were rigorously implemented. One of my achievements at the time was, of course, setting up, which had no antecedent, and ensuring that the economy of Lagos was managed through this particular vehicle. I'm very happy that how many years later, virtually every single subnational entity within the Federation of Nigeria has copied this model. One of the groundbreaking efforts we had in this regard was the Engbeti Lagos Economic Summit. And I say this with all pride because till today, 20 years later, that particular entity as a major entity to articulate change within our society, and in particular, to bring together the public, private, and other entities within, and other interests within Lagos continues to thrive. In 2005, I returned to the private sector, where I continued to bridge the worlds of finance, governance, and public policy. Collaboration with esteemed international organizations such as the World Bank, the Ford Foundation, and the UN Habitat became a hallmark of this phase in my journey. From 2010 to 2022, I had the privilege of serving as chairman of Citibank, where I dedicated myself to enhancing both the financial and non-financial aspects of the institution. A highlight of my tenure was championing diversity and gender inclusion, resulting in a remarkable increase in the representation of women on the board from a mere 8% to an improved 50%. In September 2022, and I'll conclude with this, several months after stepping down as chairman of Citibank, I was given the Citibank Global Award for leadership and ingenuity. This was the first time such an award had been given to anybody in sub-Saharan Africa. And it was given in recognition of, I quote, "for outstanding contributions to business and society over the course of a distinguished career, private, public, and not-for-profit sectors, as well as academia, and for fostering the country's financial stability and development." May I please now say a few words of what I consider to be a preliminary assessment of the challenges facing the Central Bank of Nigeria as we hopefully commence the process of giving our input into this very, very important entity. The President, in his inaugural address, conveyed the need to clean up the CBN and its monetary policies. First step in this task, the President appointed a special investor whose work is currently underway. Permit me, Mr. President, to use these preliminary remarks to outline the challenges facing the Central Bank, introduce high-level proposals to address reformation challenges, and discuss the roles of a refocused Central Bank in supporting the economic agenda of the President Tinubu administration. What are the current challenges the Central Bank of Nigeria faces? They are numerous. In assessing these challenges, the Central Bank of Nigeria, primary questions are being raised on how these challenges may be addressed, and I think that is what we are all interested in. One, we identify the issue of corporate governance, and how will issues of corporate governance be addressed. We also identify the diminished institutional autonomy. How can public and financial system stakeholders' confidence be restored in the autonomy and integrity of CBN? Can the Central Bank look to adopting a worldwide code for institutional autonomy? We also look at the need to refocus CBN back to its core functions. What needs to be in place to revert to evidence-based monetary policies? Discontinuation of unorthodox monetary policies and foreign currency management. Unorthodox use of ways and means spending. What controls can CBN develop to enforce statutory limits in ways and means? Of course, backlog of foreign exchange demand and how this can be met, and the lack of clarity in fiscal and monetary relationships. Where are the delineations and what should be the limits in CBN's fiscal interventions? Of course, very importantly, the issue of inflation and price stability, a major function of the central bank. What are the causes and what is CBN's proposed response to address inflation and price stability issues? We're also interested in access to foreign exchange markets and foreign exchange price discovery. What mechanisms exist to address foreign exchange rate unification under a willing buyer and seller arrangement? What would be the role of the central bank in the foreign exchange market going forward? Is there need for interest rate realignment to money supply, inflation, and market realities? Of course, very important to us, current financial system stability. Clearly, these problem statements need an in-depth review by us and the central bank leadership to determine which mechanisms are currently working, what can be tweaked or dispensed with, and what new tools need to be introduced. Important to all of us, of course, is the element of economic growth, because please, can you hear? Okay. What is important to all of us is the element of economic growth. And our feeling is that in identifying the important issues with economic growth, we believe very strongly that size matters. Size matters. The economic policy proposals of the administration identify a set of fiscal reforms and growth targets that will achieve a $1 trillion GDP within 8 years. Selected BRICS with large populations and similar development characteristics as Nigeria. It is interesting to identify macroeconomic indices that point to Nigeria's economic trajectory, given faithful implementation of the proposed economic reforms. In economies bigger than $1 trillion, these indices include moderate inflation, sizable foreign reserves, and capacity to quickly rebound from cyclical economic downturns. In other words, to the extent that the administration has defined such a bold target for the country, it is our feeling that achieving this is very critical to achieve the stability that we require in various economic indices. It's not the only thing, but it is very important. So we believe that this is the right way to go, and we endorse this. Given this, a refocused CBN will better serve the country through monetary policy intervention and advisory roles that sustain implementation of the administration's fiscal proposals. Advisory role of CBN. Much has been made of past CBN forays into development financing, such that the lines between monetary policy and fiscal intervention have become blurred. In refocusing CBN to its core mandate, there is need to pull the CBN back from direct development finance interventions into more limited advisory roles that support economic growth. These advisory roles facilitate new regulatory frameworks to unlock dormant capital, accelerate access to consumer credit, and expand financial inclusions to the masses.
Yes, point of order, Senator Jaribe. What order?
Mr. President, we are limited to our perspectives. You gave the nominee a particular directive, what to adhere to, but what is given to us is a literature. We must be limited to our perspectives. Bring the...
Come, Clark.
We must...
Senator Jaribe, please, what order? And you can read it out. Read it out.
Order 53-1. Any senator deviating from the provisions of these rules and the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, and any person here may be immediately called to order by the President of the Senate or the Chairman or by a senator rising to a point of order. Your Excellency, Mr. President, you gave the nominee a perspective to adhere to, and he has gone ahead to lecture us on certain things he considers necessary. For the purpose of this screening, I think we should adhere to what directive you gave to the nominee. Thank you.
Thank you. Distinguished Senator Jaribe, Order 52 that you read to Order 51, whichever order you use here, I've looked through. It talks about Senator. The person standing in front of us has not contested election to be a senator. So, point of order, dismiss. So the CBN nominee, most of the things you are saying are likely to be the concerns of the senators. So you take them seriously. Let them ask you the question, then from there you can elaborate. Thank you for your presentation. So I call on Senator Yari to ask the first question.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. My name remains Abdulaziz Abubakar. I represent the good people of Zamfara West. No, not bandit, good ones. Mr. President, I'm from Zamfara State. Let me first congratulate the nominee of the Central Bank of Nigeria Governor, and also to use this opportunity also to congratulate other deputies. We pray Almighty God shall see you through and make a Nigerian economy better. Mr. President, I have two questions to civilian governor. Mr. Governor, if you are confirmed, what do you intend in this current situation we found ourselves in the foreign exchange? It's very, very critical to Nigerian economy and to make a Nigeria better and hope to. Civilian governor only source with the new fresh money into the account for our Nigerian economy development. That's number one. Number two, clear to us, to many of us, including the Senate President when he was there, when I was there too, a CBN operate on the same way, the pipe being regulatory kind of body of the banks, the way sometimes CBN operate and sometimes come with the budget and expenditure.
As a team with his colleagues, as your questions are coming, then they will decide who will answer best, because I believe they come from different disciplines. And this last question, please write it down. He's trying to ask you that based on the kind of interventions or actions of the previous governors of Central Bank, where they were running a parallel government from the federal government, where did they get the funds from? Were the funds generated by them? Were they making profit? And if the CBN makes profit, does the profit belong to the governor of Central Bank to use as he likes? Or does it belong to the consolidated revenue account of the federal government of Nigeria? That's what Senator Yari wants to know. And I think it's also something that all the senators here would like to know. Because we hear of the CBN in agriculture, CBN in dam, CBN in construction of roads, CBN in tourism, CBN in purchase of plane, CBN in cocoa, CBN in building hostels in universities, CBN in building libraries, CBN in commissioning health centers, CBN in purchase of drugs, CBN. And so we would like to know from you, all these monies that CBN had been spending in trillions over the years, what kind of industry is CBN running to make those monies? Are those monies not meant to be appropriated by this chamber and by the National Assembly? Are they supposed to make profit and at the same time spend? And if they are making profit, what industries are they running? What nature of business is CBN engaged in? The profit, does it belong to CBN? So please, it's a very loaded question. I would like you to take your seat, let your colleagues briefly introduce themselves so that all of you can decide on who best to answer the question so we can save time. So I call on Madam Musa to introduce herself and take a seat. Thank you.
The Senate President, Senator Gosio Obotakpabio, distinguished Deputy Senate President Baru Jibril, other distinguished leadership of the Senate, and distinguished senators. Good afternoon. I stand here very humbled and honored as the acting Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. My name is Musa, and I come from Akwa Ibom State. I'm a graduate of biochemistry from the University of Uyo. I have an MBA from Obafemi Awolowo University. I'm an alumnus of Harvard Business School. Have attended several international programs, some of which are the Advanced Management Program in Harvard, General Management Program, the Strategic Marketing Management Program, Authentic Leadership. I've also attended Corporate Credit Analysis and Financial Modeling from Euromoney, and I'm also an alumnus of Lagos Business School. I am a seasoned banker with 2 decades of banking experience, cut across various aspects of banking. I started my banking experience from a very humble beginnings, working as a customer service officer and growing into the ranks up to executive director in August 2022 with the United Bank for Africa. As an executive director in 2022, I was responsible for the North Bank business. Responsible for 151 branches, managing the business of the entire North Bank, implementing turnaround strategies to improve the performance of early branches. In addition to that, we're able to grow customer base, improve revenue, and increase market share. Part of the things that we did very well was to take banking to the rural areas in line with the CBN initiative of financial inclusion. And I want to reassure every one of you today that I work with the new team to ensure that we change the narrative. We are very much aware of happenings in the economy. And I want to assure every one of you today that I work with the new team under the able leadership of Mr. Yemi Cardoso to ensure that we change the narrative in the Central Bank of Nigeria and the economy as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Muhammad Abdullahi Datijo. Datijo is not a senator. He's not a senator. He's not a senator. Is he a senator? He's not a senator. There are many people. There are many people running around.
Your Excellency, the President of the Senate, Your Excellency, the Deputy Senate President, Excellencies, distinguished leaders of the Senate, distinguished senators, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. With gratitude to Almighty Allah, my name is Muhammad Sani Abdullahi, born 26th October 1979 in Kaduna State. I stand before these hallowed chambers profoundly honored and deeply grateful for the privilege to speak in the presence of distinguished members of this Senate, the vanguard of our nation's democracy. With utmost humility and an unwavering sense of duty, I extend my heartfelt gratitude for the nomination for the position of Deputy Governor at the Central Bank of Nigeria. I owe immense gratitude to our revered father, leader, and statesman, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, for his unwavering trust and confidence in presenting my name for this pivotal role. His visionary leadership and steadfast commitment to the prosperity of Nigeria have been a wellspring of inspiration for us all. Should I be confirmed, I pledge to support the governor of the bank and my colleagues to uphold the highest standards and principles as Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Your Excellency, distinguished senators, I'd like to provide a very brief overview of my educational background and experience. My early years in primary and secondary school were spent in Kaduna State, in Essence International School. I completed a bachelor's degree in economics at Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. I proceeded to also complete a master's in international affairs and diplomacy in ABU Zaria. Subsequently, I completed a master's degree in development economics and policy at the University of Manchester in the United Kingdom. I am currently rounding up a PhD in Henley Business School at the University of Reading. I have 2 decades of experience in development policy formulation, public finance, and project implementation. I have had a career spanning the private sector, public sector, and international development. My initial specialization was in credit and risk management during my tenure at EcoBank Nigeria, providing me with the foundational skills and experience in finance, risk assessment, and regulatory compliance. Subsequently, as a development economist, I have served as a member of the World Bank Expert Advisory Council and held the position of policy advisor at the Executive Office of the United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon in New York. These roles have allowed me to contribute to global development initiatives and gain valuable insight into the complexities of economic policy at an international level. In Kaduna State, I served as the Commissioner for Economic Planning and Budget, followed by the position of Chief of Staff to the State Governor for over 7 years. In these capacities, I played a role in designing, coordinating, and implementing government policies across all sectors. I had the opportunity to lead the Infrastructure Council, overseeing the largest infrastructure expansion in the history of the state and coordinating the portfolio of economic and social infrastructure across 23 local governments. During my time as Commissioner Budget, we formulated economic policies, designed the state fiscal strategy, and coordinated the implementation and monitoring of the state budget. During that time, we also designed the State Development Plan, established our Economic Intelligence Unit, strengthened data and statistics capabilities, created an infrastructure master plan, industrial policy, and a plan to accelerate achievement of the SDGs. Through my career, I have held several positions of senior economist and economic advisor in the presidency and in the Nigeria Governors Forum, respectively. These roles have allowed me to contribute to shaping economic policy at the national and local level and aligning our objectives with global development priorities. In conclusion, my diverse experience in development policy, banking, public finance, and project implementation have equipped me with the necessary skills and insights to contribute effectively as the Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, if confirmed. I firmly believe that with the dedicated leadership, the unwavering support of the National Assembly, strategic planning, and the resilience of our people, that we can overcome the economic challenges we face as a nation and achieve robust growth and stability. Once again, I thank you, Your Excellency, and distinguished senators for considering my nomination and humbly seek your support and valuable guidance as we embark on this important journey. Thank you for your time and consideration.
The distinguished colleagues, I now invite Mr. Philip Ikazo.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Distinguished senators, most distinguished Senate President and the most distinguished Deputy Senate President and distinguished senators. My name is Philip Ikazo. I'm from Obosi in Anambra State. I studied economics in the University of Buckingham, majoring in accounting and financial management. I've had a diverse banking career over 30 years. I started my banking career with Nigerian American Merchant Bank, which was a subsidiary of Bank of Boston. I was trained in Boston for 6 months as a loan officer. Thereafter, I joined Merchant Banking Corporation, which was a subsidiary of Bank of Paribas then. Spent a good 6 years plus with Merchant Banking Corporation before moving on to EcoBank. In EcoBank, I had 2 roles as the General Manager, Institutional Banking, and also later served as the Pioneer Managing Director of EcoBank Kenya. In executive capacity, I also served as General Manager and Group General Manager in UBA. Non-executive capacity, I have served on boards in banks in Uganda, Kenya, United Kingdom, and Nigeria. And I also served on the board of ICRISAT, which is a crop research institute led by the World Bank, headquartered in India. I served on that board for 6 years. I'm hoping that with this opportunity to serve with Mr. Yemi Cardoso, an opportunity graciously granted by the President, I was also the Managing Director of Keystone Bank for 4 years. I was the MD of Keystone Bank for 4 years. I did the turnaround in the bank and handed it over to the new parties. So I'm humbled by the nomination by the President to serve with a thoroughbred professional like Mr. Yemi Cardoso and a very good team. And with the support of this most distinguished Senate, we hope to be able to face the task ahead, which is not an easy task in any way. Thank you very much.
Mr. Bello.
Your Excellency, the President of the 10th Senate, distinguished Senator Godswill Obot Akpabio, Your Excellency, the Deputy Senate President of the 10th Senate, Senator Jibrin Barau, distinguished members of the 10th Senate, and of course, special recognition to the distinguished senators from Taraba State, Senator Shuaibulau, Taraba North, here present, Senator Excellency Haruna Manu, present in spirit, as well as Senator Jim Kuda of Taraba South, also present in spirit. I also recognize all other distinguished senators here present. And my name is Bala Mohammed Bello, and I'm from Kakara, Mambila Plateau, Sarana local government area of Taraba Central Senatorial Zone in Taraba State. I was born in the ancient city of Kakara, Taraba State, and I'm happily married, of course, with an army with 7 children. I stand before this respected chamber today, humble and highly, highly honored by the trust reposed in me by His Excellency, the Father of the Nation, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Grand Commander of the Federal Republic, as a nominee to serve as a Deputy Governor on the board of the Central Bank of Nigeria. I thank Almighty God for making this possible, and I'm eternally grateful to Mr. President for giving me the opportunity to serve my fatherland once again. This is indeed a testimony to what we've done in the past, as I've been called by 2 different presidents to serve the fatherland. I just resigned from Nigerian Export-Import Bank, in which I was appointed 7 years ago to serve as the Executive Director of Corporate Services. And I'm also glad to say here that the chairman of one of the committees in which I was making presentation is here as a distinguished senator. I'm equally grateful to the 10th Senate for giving me the opportunity to present myself here for screening. I obtained my Bachelor of Science degree in accounting from Bello University, Zaria, and also an MBA from the same institution. I've successfully completed the High Potential Leadership Program, Harvard Business School, Boston, Massachusetts, United States of America, and I've also completed the Executive Development Program as a young professional at the Wharton Business School, Philadelphia, in the US as well. I also hold a certificate in Operations Leadership from the Richard Ivey School of Business, University of Western Ontario, Canada, as well as a Portfolio Management certificate from the New York Institute of Finance. In addition to that, I also hold the Stanford Graduate School of Business certificate in Leading Change and Organizational Review, as well as other certificates that I've obtained in various business schools across the world. I started my career with Guaranty Trust Bank shortly after my NY. When the contributory pension scheme was brought into Nigeria by former President Obasanjo, about 1.5 billion of pension assets under management for a period of 10 years. Subsequent to that, I became the first indigenous executive director of operations and later chief operating officer of Sigma Pensions when the white people that set up the place were leaving. I was also equally awarded the Ambassador for Peace by the Universal Peace Federation. This is an award that exemplifies the life of people who live for others because of some philanthropic activities that have been undertaken in my home state of Taraba State. I've attended several courses in investment management, wealth creation, portfolio construction, financial sector surveillance across the globe. I've had over 26 years cognate working experience in the financial services, the last 13 at executive level. Given the position of the Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, I assure you that whatever experience I've gathered over the years, backed by a lot of brain power from some of the best gurus in the world, we are going to turn around the fortune of this bank with your support. I'm a very, very strong believer in teamwork and collaboration, and I also believe that together under the tutelage of the finance guru, Mr. Cardoso, we will not disappoint Nigerians if approved by this hallowed chamber. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Senator Yari asked the question. I will invite distinguished Senator Izunaso. Please give them plain sheets, jot down the questions so we can answer in phases. Senator Izunaso, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President of the Senate, sitting as chair, and my distinguished colleagues. My name is Senator Osita Izunaso. I represent Imo West. The question goes to all the nominees. I'm worried about some of the breaches of the CBN Act by previous administrations of CBN. I would like us to look at Section 49, Sub 1 of the CBN Act that empowers the CBN account to be audited and the auditors so appointed under Section 6. Well, you will agree with me that Section 49, Sub 2 further states that the Auditor General of the Federation shall examine the records of the CBN account. And thereafter, Section 50 says that such account shall now be transmitted to the National Assembly and to the President within 2 months of the close of the financial year. Why is it that this has not been the case? Because assuming that this has been happening, a lot of issues would have been settled even before now. Question number 2. The CBN Act, also in Section 2 Sub D, is clear
about the functions of CBN as it relates to money and capital market operation. How come the activities of CBN is only most times dealing with money market, relegating the capital market that you know that is the benchmark of any economy? I would like you to look at this. I have a third question. Mr. President, okay, I've been asked to stop at 2. Thank you.
It's not working. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Presidential, the gubernatorial nominee. My question really wanted, I really wanted to dwell on the issue of number of industries that are collapsing every day. The recent data from the Federal Ministry of Trade and Investments indicate that almost 370 industries have folded up in the last 1 year. My take was that a lot of interventions needed to be done in terms of supporting these industries with capital and soft loans. But listening to you, I captured you saying that you want to withdraw the CBN from the interventionist policies to more traditional catalytic policies. And I'm like, where do we handle this problem? Because really and truly, if we really want to grow the economy, if we really want to provide employment to save our scarce foreign exchange, then we have to develop our local industries. The era of import substitution strategy is gone. Every country now is developing and encouraging formation of industries and companies that will provide employment for their people. So I really want you to reconcile these positions, and maybe possibly if you have another policy thinking that will help us in bringing back to life these collapsing industries. Thank you.
I just want questions as possible so that when they are going to answer, they can divide themselves. So, distinguished Senator Baribe.
Thank you, Mr. President, sitting as chair. My name is Naya Baribe. I represent Abia South. I would like to congratulate all of you, Mr. Cardoso and the rest. And I just want to ask one question, because some of the questions I would have asked have been, would you have the courage to say no to what has brought Nigeria to where we now have an 87 trillion naira debt because of an indiscriminate use of ways and means? Thank you.
Distinguished Senator Ifeanyi Ubah.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Senator Ifeanyi Ubah, Anambra South, and I want to, may I congratulate you for this noble task you are about to go into. Mr. President, we have looked at their CVs, and no one needs to ask questions much on the CVs and the compliance, but the most important thing, Mr. President, the CBN governor, I want, if this House confirms you, I want you to be a listening governor. Because from practicality, you find some technocrat or some people in the system that can help you. Looking at our economy today, everybody that is into importation today depends on CBN for forex. But I also think that if we're able to put 5 modular refineries in the Delta region, and then divide these 5 modular refineries to about 20 stakeholders each, the stakeholders in the industry can have opportunity to take